Today in our Odysseyware program, we are moving into math, and today's lesson is on probability and likelihood. Probability tells us the likelihood that something will happen. Some events are likely to happen and some events are unlikely to happen. Another word for likely is probable. We're going to use fractions to interpret probability and likelihood. We're going to interpret graphs to determine probability and likelihood of an outcome and define probability. Our vocabulary words for this lesson are graph, probable, and improbable. Graph, a pictorial device for showing number relationships. Probable means likely, almost a sure thing. Improbable means unlikely. Im means not in our prefixes, and un means not. So improbable means unlikely. Let's look at an example of probability. Suppose Timmy and his family are playing a game. They use a cube with 6 faces to decide how many spaces a player will move his marker. One face is marked with a 2, one face is marked with a 6. All other faces are marked with a 3. When a player uses this cube, it is likely a face marked with a 3 will appear. It is unlikely the faces marked with 6 or 2 will appear. On Odysseyware, you may click on the video to see an example of the cube of the die. However, I have written down the numbers at the top of the board. 2, 6, 3, 3, 3, 3. We can see that it is likely that they are going to roll a 3 since there are 4 3s. It is unlikely that they are going to roll a 2 or a 6 since there is only 1 2 and there is only 1 6. Let's look at how we would write this in a fraction. We count up the number of numbers there are on the die, and there are 6 total numbers. So we are going to make the 6 our denominator. So for the 2, there is 1 2, so we put a 1. There is 1 6, so we put a 1 as our numerator. And there are 1 2 3 4 3s, so we put a 4 as our numerator. So now let's write that there is 1/6 of a chance we're going to roll a 2, 1/6 of a chance we're going to roll a 6, and 4/6 of a chance we're going to roll a 3. So let's look at it as a picture in colors here. So we're going to first count the number of pieces in this fraction, and there are 8. So I'm going to write 8 as my denominator. 8 is going to be my denominator. So I'm going to first look at blue, and I'm going to count how many blue pieces of the fraction there are. Remember, 8 is my denominator. Now I'm going to look at red, and then the last color is teal. going to make 8 my denominator. So now I'm going to count the number of blue. There are 4 blue. So the fraction of blue is 4/8. Count my red. The fraction is 3/8. And I'm going to count my teal. The fraction is 1/8. So now we're going to look at it. What color is the most likely that you would get, which is the fraction that's the greatest number? Well, it's likely that we would get blue. And unlikely, we're going to look at what fraction is the smallest number, and the smallest one is teal. So let's look at the example that they have on our questions for the lesson check. We're going to count the number of pieces that we have in the circle, and in this circle we have 10, and we're going to look at the blue one. So the blue one is 10, so right now we have 1/10. So I'm going to show you how you're going to type it in the box. You're going to go to 1, and you're going to go over here, and you're going to find that little line to make your fraction line. You're going to touch that, and then you're going to come up and make your 10. You're going to do 1 and 0. So I'm going to show you how to do that again, how you're going to type that answer in your box. 1, go down there to that key, /1 0 to make your 10. And you can look up in the box and see that I made 1/10 for that fraction of how much is blue. All right, we're looking at this picture right here, and we want to know which piece is most likely that we're going to get, what color. So if you look, teal, there's only 1, blue, there's only 3, red, there are 4. So it is likely that we are going to get red. So you're going to have a question similar to that on your lesson check. All right, now we're going to look that Susan has 20 animal cards. Susan had 20 animal cards. So we're going to remember that as our denominator. Then we're going to look at this picture with all of the animals, and they have it lined up, and you can see at the bottom of this graph the numbers are right below the number of animals. So you don't even really need to count. You can refer to the number below to see how many of which animal. So we're going to be looking specifically at dogs. So we know that our denominator has to be 20 since she has 20 cards. So we're going to look and see at the dogs how many dogs there are. So you could count them by touching them, or you could look at the bottom. There are 7 dogs. So 7/20 is the fraction. Cats. So we're going to go over here and look at the cats. We're going to count up the cats, or you can refer to the bottom. And there are how many? So go ahead. Our denominator is 20, and 6 is the number that was there. So we're going to go down the line here. We're going to look at rabbits. Remember, our denominator is 20. We're going to go over to our graph and look at rabbits. It's real simple to see. Boom, boom, boom. You can count. There are 3. You could also just slide down to the bottom of the graph and look. So there are 3 rabbits. 3/20 rabbits. All right, next one is gerbils. So there are 20 is the 20 cards. So 20 gerbils, or 20 is the denominator. Now we need to look at how many gerbils there are. I see 2 cute little gerbils staring at me. So my numerator will be 2. 2/20 gerbils. Now, you, for your lesson check, are going to have to do snakes. I'm not going to tell you what the answer is for this, so you can look at the picture, and you are going to have to look and see. Now, I want you to notice their answer choices. Their answer choices are written kind of slanted. So I want you to see what it looks like. So 2/20 is written like this, and 1/20 is written like this, and 3/20 is written like this. All right, moving on to something else we have to know. Susan has 20 animal cards. So again, we have all of our animals in the graph, very similar. Now this time they're going to ask us about or, if they want this or that. When we see the word or, that tells us that we have to add those two numbers together. So if they wanted rabbits or snakes, we know that, first of all, Susan has 20 animal cards, so 20 is our denominator. So I have to go over here and look at rabbits, which I see are 3, and snakes I see is 1. So I'm going to have to go over here and write down, 3 plus 1, and I'm going to add that up, and I'm going to get 4. Now that's going to be my numerator, and remember the numerator is what goes on the top of the fraction. So rabbits or snakes would be 4/20. Rabbits or snakes would be 4/20. The next one I'm going to do is hamsters or gerbils. They're very similar little creatures, so let's take a look at the two of those together. It's hard to make a decision which one I want. So there are 20 is the denominator because there's 20 cards altogether. Hamsters I look at. And gerbils I look at. So hamsters there's 1 and gerbils there are 2. So I'm going to add up hamsters plus gerbils and I get 3. And that's going to be my numerator. So I put it at the top there. Remember 20 is my denominator because that's how many cards that Susan had. So 3/20. Now remember on the program they have to type it a little bit differently. So 3/20 is written differently.